how in depth then do you want me to share? Do you want me just to kind of give an overview? I don't want to spoil your series.
Well, whatever you do, we'll accept it. If you want to go in depth with it, we're here.
Yes, go in depth.
All right. Well, I just don't want to spoil any series that you have planned by sharing too much.
Oh, it's okay. It's okay. Yeah.
All right.
We'll just add it to it
All
later.
right. Okay. All right. Well, so the exciting thing about looking at the tabernacle is that it was designed by God. Mm-hmm. Moses was told, build the tabernacle exactly as you were shown when he was on Mount Sinai. Mm-hmm. So as we're looking at this now, this is built to life-size scale. This is the size it would have been in the wilderness when Israel came out of Egypt. The posts you see represent the perimeter of the courtyard. There would have been a white linen curtain all the way around this courtyard, indicating that this was a special place. Now, you remember when Moses saw the burning bush, and Moses approached the burning bush, and God called out to him, Moses, take off your sandals, for the place you're standing is what kind of ground?
Holy ground.
Holy ground. It was just dirt a minute ago, but now it's holy ground. Why was it holy ground?
Because God was there.
Oh, this is a good group. Yes, because God was there. And so this is a special place because this was where God dwelt with his people. And so this became a holy place because it was set apart. That's what the word holy really means, set apart. This was a place that was set apart for God, set apart for his worship. So now, that white linen curtain around the courtyard would have changed when it got to the four posts over there. It would have been a white linen curtain with blue, purple, and scarlet threads, designating the entrance to the courtyard. And so no one was allowed to approach the tabernacle except through that one entrance, through that curtain. Now, the first piece of furniture, I call it furniture because I don't know what else to call it. The first piece that was in the tabernacle was this piece called the altar of sacrifice. Notice how big it is. Mm-hmm. This was a portable building. This was a portable place of worship. They could take all these posts. These posts were set in metal sockets that were buried in the sand, and that held the post up, and then they probably had guide wires to hold the posts up as well. But all around this, so all of this could be taken up, taken apart, and carried. Now, the Levites had 3 clans, and of the clans they divided up, and they each had responsibility for carrying part of the tabernacle. This is the least favorite part that I would have seen. I said, I'd rather carry the table that's in there because it's much smaller, than carrying this. But how in the world would they have carried this with wood? This was wood overlaid with metal. So what if they put a long pole, let's say it weighs 2,000 pounds, and they put a long pole out here, maybe a pole stretching out to here that we could put 10 men on. And so if this was 2,000 pounds, each corner would weigh 500, and you put 10 men on that, that's 50 pounds per man to carry.
Yeah.
So, and if you had 40 men, 10, 20, 30, 40 men, they could carry it a distance, and then if we had a team that we'd switch off those 40 for another 40, because there were 22,000 male Levites when they came out of Egypt. And so they had a lot of people to work with.
Yeah.
So they could have switched off, and that's how they would have carried this. Notice again, though, how big this is. We could take the laver, the table of showbread, the lampstand, the altar of incense, and even the ark, and fit them in the volume of the size of this. So if God made this so big in relationship to everything else in the tabernacle, what is he saying about the importance of a place of sacrifice?
It's required.
It's required, yes. It's absolutely essential. It's the first thing they came to. So don't even think about the rest of worship until you think about a sacrifice for sin.
Right.
Without the shedding of blood,
Mhm.
there is no remission of sin.
Yeah.
And so this was a place where God's prescribed sacrifices that dealt with the problem of broken fellowship, broken relationship with God. Now, the second thing we come to is the labor. Yeah, that's easy to trip on, isn't it? Ours is made out of cement because we couldn't afford to do it. It was made out of metal in the Bible, and this was a place that this would contain water, and perhaps one of the Levites would dip water out, but it was a place of ceremonial washing. They would only wash their hands and feet. It was a picture of cleansing. So even though morning and evening there was a lamb of sacrifice for the nation's sins, and then throughout the day individuals could bring individual sacrifices for sin, this was a place before the priests could go into the holy place to do their worship activities. They had to wash their hands and feet here. A picture of God cleansing them, preparing them that they could go into the place of worship. That there were things they had done with their hands, places they had gone with their feet, that God says you need cleansing. Now we have a verse in the New Testament that uses that same concept. If we confess our sins, God is faithful and just to forgive us our sins and to... I heard somebody saying it over here.
Cleanse us from all unrighteousness.
Yes, cleanse us from all unrighteousness. That same concept. Our sins are forgiven because of Jesus shed blood on the cross. But if we choose the wrong thing, we can confess that sin, and God says He forgives us that sin, but cleanses us from all unrighteousness.
Amen.
Now, do we recognize every sin in our lives?
No.
No, we're growing, right?
Yeah.
We're growing. We're learning. We're growing. And so God says, I see it all. But we only see a little bit. So God says, if you are honest and confess the sins that you do see, He says, I'll cleanse you from all unrighteousness, make you acceptable to worship.
Amen.
So Jesus makes us acceptable. So now, this was made out of metal. Does anybody know what the offering was for this?
Offering.
The metal this was melted down from.
Jewelry from the women.
It was from the women. Yes, yes. It was polished metal mirrors. So you can imagine. Think of you've seen pictures of Egyptians women in Egypt on the sides of buildings and things.
Yeah.
You know, the old pictures.
Yeah.
And you imagine the women of Egypt using those mirrors to put on that gaudy Egyptian makeup so that they could go and worship the false gods of Egypt. And God took those mirrors, a gift probably from the women of Israel, and melted them down and made it a place as a picture of God cleansing us so that we'd be prepared for worship.
Wow.
So, in the Old Testament, the women could point to the labor